Hello, this is Lynn Price. I am hoping that you can see me and hear me from Denver, Colorado, where we just had a snowstorm and we all are digging out. So congratulations to you who are attending the Ashoka Exchange. I am an Ashoka Fellow and I am thrilled to be sharing with you my story, my journey that led to me becoming an Ashoka Fellow and writing the book, which is Vision for a Change, a Social Entrepreneur's Insights from the Heart. I really want to indulge you to send me a note in the chat if you'd like along the way, and I will get started. So about 8 years old, I was skipping home from school one day. I was so excited because I was spared the wrath of name calling. I had these big protruding front teeth, and it was only a matter of time before the students in the classrooms or on the playground would reach out to me and say, "How are you doing, Bucky Beaver?" or "What's new with you, tinsel teeth?" But on this given day, it was as if they knew something was going to be happening at home. And as I skipped home to tell my mom about this great day where the classmates wanted to be friends with me, I noticed that my dad's car was parked in front of the house. My dad never came home early, so I knew that something was wrong. So I slowly walked up to the front door, quietly opened it. And when I got inside, I saw my mother and father sitting on the couch next to each other, quiet. My mother had tears in her eyes. And it was only a matter of moments before my father motioned me over and said, "Honey, I came home early today because there's something we've been meaning to tell you, and it just hasn't been the right time. But I got a call today, and well, we're not your parents." "What do you mean you're not my parents?" He went on to say he was my foster father and my mother was my foster mother. Turned out when I was 11 months old, my father abandoned the family. He was a ladies' man. He was a gambler. He took the money and ran. And my mother, she just had a broken heart and had a breakdown and went into a state institution. And then my father said, "So there was nobody to take care of you and your older sister." Older sister? It's the plight of a youth in foster care caught up in a web of biological parents and foster parents, caseworkers, therapists, teachers, and coaches who don't quite understand what it feels like to be torn away from everything that you feel is stable and everything that you feel is loving. You see, at first I felt very lonely because the man that called me daddy's little girl just told me he's not my daddy. I was confused because, what do you mean an older sister? I'm the older sister in this family. I have a younger brother. How can I have an older sister? I'm the older sister. I was angry. I was really angry because why were people making decisions on my behalf? And of course, I felt guilty. What did I do to bring this on? For the next 11, 12 years, I journeyed in the foster care system. At any point in time, maybe going back with my birth mother, oftentimes going to supervise visits. But the reality was, despite all the odds, I applied to the University of Illinois, and the first time I was rejected in the College of Business. But I spent my whole life being rejected, and I decided things were going to change. So I took a drive to the campus and went door to door to admissions offices until I found the School of Agriculture who accepted me. I didn't know that that was going to be my future at that point in time, but I wanted in. And in this day and age, there's only about 3% of youth in foster care who do go and graduate college. So I was a success. I am a success. And the reality is, I started in 1995 as a court-appointed special advocate volunteer, and also at a campus for children at a place called Child Haven in Las Vegas. And I realized that firstly, youth were using the system not to do well for themselves. And here I was saying, I did really well for myself. And then the other part was on this campus, I saw that brothers and sisters were separated. And I realized that my sister Andy and I didn't spend any time together except supervised visits at a park or at a restaurant. We didn't have birthday celebrations or going to each other's graduations or fighting about boys or borrowing each other's clothes. And that to me was incomprehensible. So I had a vision that I'm sure are within all of you, to change the world. And that vision, and what I talk about in my book, Vision for a Change, is an innovation. Now, for me and for you, as you design and think about the vision for a change that you want to make in the world, it seems like common sense. The statistics were that 75% of all brothers and sisters who placed in foster care are separated from each other. And so I know that the focus was on the parent and the child separation. I did not quite understand that the sibling separation was still happening. So I had an innovation. And in my book, in chapter 1, I just want to read a little bit part of an innovation. The innovation is something that each of us have in our hearts and in our minds. There's a common tendency to cling to old ways and methods. Every innovation has to fight for its life, and every good thing that has been condemned in its day and generation. A quote by Elbert Hubbard. So I write, why should we ever wait for the world to change? You and I have the power to create change and make it happen now. And with this innovation is imagination, intuition, and an impetus to define our vision for a change. So I started Camp to Belong. Interesting that belonging is one of the values of this exchange. And with Camp to Belong, we reunite brothers and sisters who are placed in separate foster homes, adoptive homes, and relative placements, most known for our summer camps. It's an opportunity for 5 nights and 6 days for brothers and sisters to be brothers and sisters, even with events like birthday parties, so they can shop for each other at our stores, have a big birthday party, put whipped cream on each other's noses, and try to take each other's presents. What I have found in designing a program like Camp to Belong, and what Ashoka is all about, is how do you scale that program? And we will talk about it in just a moment. So secondly, I started to think about what is an inside-preneur, and I also talk about an inside-preneur in the book. Our intelligence, our inclusion, our interpretation, how are we intimidated? And interestingly, the first story is about my induction into Ashoka and what it was like to come to Washington, D.C. at that time and be along 13 other fellows who, the most wonderful aspect is I wanted to join them and do all the other things that they were doing. So the inside-preneurial skills is what is a passion larger than life. And again, reading from the book, it's larger than the universe. A passion that's dedicated to make change happen. In my definition, an insidepreneur is someone who goes way down deep into their insides to understand how to make a change on the outside. This change could be for oneself, independently or collectively, or for someone else, or for the world. And so what I did is I said, what inside makes me feel that this idea, this innovation of Camp to Belong is important and necessary? And I realized that for the most part, if you think about it, Your sibling relationship is oftentimes your longest relationship in life. And the reality is, youth in foster care are going to transition out of foster care at some point in time. And it's not like we go looking for our brothers and sisters. I saw my sister Andy, as I said, at supervised visits. But the reality is, now our brothers and sisters who attend programs with Camp to Belong can absolutely recall their first ride on a horse, or the camp counselor who told them they were wonderful and could be anything they want to be. And the reality is that makes for best practice in the foster care system, which I'll get to in a moment as well. So you have the innovation. In my case, it's Camp to Belong. You have the inside-preneurial skills, because I dug down deep to say, what is common sense to me? Now, that doesn't mean that it's easy to make this happen. My first trip to the Department of Human Services in Clark County, Nevada, the director said, "That's a great idea, Lynn." And I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to leave now because I'm going to make this happen. And the reality is, it did happen. And later on, he said to me, well, a lot of people have ideas, but they don't make them happen. So the third part is the impact. And Ashoka and being a change maker, we think about the greater world impact. For me, I started with, if I can help one child, I've made an impact. And it's not only about me, it's those of us who have a vision and then bring alongside other people. That it's some of the other values of the exchange, the respect for other people, the inclusion, courage, generosity, authenticity, and certainly optimism, because so many people, when you have an idea, will either tell you it's not going to work or it's been done before. But we're not reinventing the wheel. We don't have egos. We're enhancing what's been done. And that's what we told the Department of Human Services. We say, we know that you're doing what you can do and want to do for our kids. We just want to help you, and we're going to come alongside. Well, I want to talk a little bit about that impact. Again, reading from the book, get around people who have something of value to share with you. Their impact will continue to have a significant effect on your life long after they have departed. And that's a quote by Jim Rohn. So vision for change creates exciting and insatiable opportunities to make a difference for that one person I was talking about, or 1,000,001 people. That difference stems from the innovations that are doused with courageous inside-preneurial skills and result in impact. So what's the ultimate impact? You know, we all talk about in business that we have to put a business plan together. I kind of done things backwards. It's like, let's do the plan and then we'll talk about the business. So after we had our first Camp to Belong on the University of Las Vegas campus, so the kids got to experience dorm rooms and elevators. You know, some of the best memories were getting stuck on an elevator. And then furthermore, we would have a birthday party like I talked about. We would have a campfire, and we couldn't really do a campfire near the strip. So we had logs and crepe paper and flashlights. We couldn't go horseback riding because it was too hot for the horses, so we called the Excalibur Hotel and asked for them to bring over the Italian stallions from their medieval show. And we called in PE teachers, physical education teachers, and we called in art teachers, and we started making sibling pillows for each other so each of the kids would have a pillow to bring home at night. The reality is, in year 3, I moved from Las Vegas to Denver. And I called that same director and I said, hey, we could keep having camp on the university. And this is a great place for our youth to learn about what they can be in the future through life seminars with military service organizations and community service organizations and all of the university programs that are available. Or we can bring them to the Rockies and let them experience rafting and horseback riding out into the fields. Again, he said, well, that's a good idea. And I said, well, great. And I left. And the next time I called him was from the Denver airport, letting him know that his kids were here and safe. And he said, where are they and how are they safe? And I said, well, you said it was a good idea to bring them to the Rockies. And that was the start of Impact More in replication. Because what we showed is that we could bring youth in foster care who aren't necessarily able or approved to cross state lines to come across state lines and meet other kids who are in the same situation as they are, so that they would know they're not the only youth in foster care in the world, because we don't put something on our foreheads that say we're in foster care. More than that, we had volunteers who would come because they want to volunteer to be alongside these kids in the trenches. And many of those volunteers then became foster parents and adoptive parents over the years. Some changed their majors to be social workers, which was so wonderfully outstanding to think that it impacted their own lives. Furthermore, the impact, not in the business plan at the start, enhanced best practice, because training about the importance of siblings became a topic of most child welfare seminars, symposiums, and all the conferences that they had. And then on top of all that, there was legislation where even our own campers, as they grew up, would go to state capitals and put before all of the lawmakers sibling bills of rights and sibling legislation that puts the priority on sibling placement and sibling visitation. And on and on and on, to the point that Camp to Belong has replicated now in 14 states. In Australia, we have a model that we help each other in each state, in each city, and we've then further impacted by having year-round programs so that then those kids can come to connect with their siblings and their new friends year-round as well. So you have the innovation, and I'm sure you have yours. You have the inside-preneurial skills. I know that you have what it takes, because you wouldn't be at this exchange if you didn't. And then there's an impact of sometimes thinking you got to go so big at the beginning. But to me, it was like, again, that one letter, that one love letter from a camper, or that one letter from a counselor, or that one acknowledgement from a contributor that said, you are bringing best practice to social justice, to the inclusion of all the kids that are in foster care. And that brings it round to the ethical fiber. And that's a big quality with Ashoka and being a change maker. And I just want to read again from the book about what the ethical fiber is all about. When it comes to knowing your own ethical fiber, there comes a time to reach into the depths of who you are, inside and out. It is a time to think about your alignment between what you say and what you do, how you practice and what you preach. It's a branding of sorts that people can count on each and every time they think of you or call on you. It's an opportunity for the trust you have in yourself to ooze out like big beams of light, perhaps a chance to get back to basics and a time to fully appreciate the ethical fiber you're made of. Your very core ethical fiber is the essence of our individuality that starts with intention, models integrity, and illuminates the world. Sometimes I have to chuckle because I remember when we were putting our first board together, I went to some of my friends. I know they were the people that I could trust. And one of my friends, I asked her to be the treasurer of the organization, and she was saying, Lynn, I don't even know how to balance a checkbook. And I said, so what's your point? You can learn. People just joined on because they thought of an idea whose time has come. They knew that I had a presence about me and a persistence that was going to make this happen one way or another. And then they wanted to be a part of it. It is so important not to have the ego, like I said, and allow other people into your idea, your vision for a change. I call it the power of the ripple, where you cast that one stone and it all ripples out into the impact that I'm talking about here to make a difference in our world. On campus, I will tell you, to this day, some of my sorority sisters have been involved in Camp to Belong. And further than that, I've helped some of them create their own models to be change makers in the world. You know, Ashoka talks about the innovation and the creativity and the entrepreneurial skills, the impact, the ethical fiber, so many of the things that each of you participating in the exchange are hearing from the ways some of us and some of you have indeed changed the world. And I just want to keep encouraging you to do so like that. With my book that you can order through the exchange, there are stories of different social entrepreneurs, some of them Ashoka Fellows that I've met along the way, and their stories about innovation and the ethical fiber and the impact and the inside-preneurial skills. So it's really, really important to see who you can surround yourself with to make sure that you can make this happen. So I want to pause for a moment. If you have any questions, can you please put that in the chat? And I would love to answer them for you. So we'll just take a moment and I will look at my notes while you might put something in the chat. I'm wondering if one of you can put in the chat what your vision for a change is. Okay, well, while I wait to see, I'm sure you're all thinking it over. I am so excited about all of the people that you are surrounded by. And in Vision for a Change, and maybe you'll even be writing your own books, what makes me so proud of being a social entrepreneur is that it absolutely comes from the heart. This is the book. I'm thinking it's going to show up there on the screen. It's really an indulging moment. In the book, I talk about the impact is the importance, the influence, the intangibles, the invitation that you have to give to others. And then the ethical fiber, again, we talk about individuality, intention, integrity, and illumination. There are so many incredibly wonderful people out there. So thank you. So Abby, thank you for saying for my story and my work, my impact. The beauty is each of you can absolutely be such a big part of making that impact with whatever it is. I always suggest, don't reinvent the wheel. Look to those people who have related passions so that you can also come alongside them and bring the best of your interests and expertise. So many of the models for Camp to Belong are working with other organizations who then take the Camp to Belong model and some of the models that you'll read about in Vision for a Change and make it one of their services, which further expands the importance of your idea, your innovation, and your programs that you are putting together. So definitely appreciate that. Any other thoughts? Tell me what you're doing on your campus. I'd love to hear. Agenda for the exchange, and it's really remarkable how many people of wisdom you have. And I know once you're on the other side of the exchange, you're going to be thinking about what to do first. The biggest thing, again, I talk about in the book is taking that first step so that you can make that change. In fact, I just want to talk about, I'll read as we close up here, the biggest part of making that change. You have the power to introduce your great idea, inject your inside-preneurial skills, crease an unyielding impact, and stand tall in your ethical spirit. Fan those sparks into flames, leave no stone unturned, for the immense power of the ripple begins with your vision for a change. One of my mantras is always to start at a place of good intention, give others the benefit of the doubt, and understand that there is a method to the madness. Thanks to all of you. I wish you lots of great luck and fun and success in the future. Certainly, you can go to the bookstore to order my book. If you'd like, I'm just going to put my email in the chat box, and I would love to hear from you. And you can also look at my website as well. So I will put that in there for you. And my email. There you go. I'd love to hear from you. And if you'd love any ideas or any feedback on what you're thinking about as a change maker, certainly please let me know. I'd be happy to help you. That's how we move on with our ideas, is to help each other do them. So thank you all so very much, and I will close for now. Have a great day.